And because sushi requires a lot of precision and also, being a bit of a perfectionist, I was putting a huge amount of pressure on myself, and I could feel definitely the cracks were starting to appear. I was actually shaking at, when I came home at probably silly o'clock, my partner could see that I was in a real state. I was like sort of shaking because I just hadn't eaten for 8 hours, looked after myself. I was operating on fumes. And that's the point at which, you just have to stop. You have to take a break and really reflect. So I'm Tony, I'm a sushi chef. I used to be a doctor, working for the NHS. But since February this year, I actually jumped off the cliff, and now I'm in the thick of it. I'm operating as a private chef, but also doing a sushi residency at the set. And it's been absolutely crazy in the best possible way. And I'm looking forward to the future. Looking forward to what the future brings next year in 26. There's some plans, but we'll go through that at some point.
Yeah, absolutely. So what made you take that leap of faith into as what I'd call your dream career, I guess?
Well, it's a bit of a long story. So as you know, working in the NHS, was around about 2015, graduated, fresh-faced, into my junior doctor training, and I saw a lot, learned a lot. And I thought, this is it. This is just the long, straight and narrow, nice and easy. Gonna go, into training in whatever specialty that I can, that takes my interest, and then I'll be a consultant.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So it seems like everything is really well planned out, and indeed for a lot of people it is. From the start, you've already seen the roadmap. You know what to expect. The sort of, if this, then that. If not that, then this. It's a very easy path to navigate. Almost like your life is already planned out for you.
Yeah.
And I thought that was what was going to happen. Yeah. Unfortunately, it was anything but that. I think the point at which I knew was in 2021. After the pandemic. Yeah. So the pandemic, I know we're going to touch on this topic again later on in the talk, but it was instrumental in making me realize that maybe this wasn't quite the right path for me, and maybe I should be thinking about an exit strategy, because this isn't something that I want to do for the rest of my life. Even if I were to, forge ahead, and, let's face it, if you do the work, you can pass the exams and you can absolutely, reach the end and qualify, as a complete product, as a consultant. But to do that for the rest of your life, you have to have the passion. You have to have that will, that passion, and that driving force, which
the drive is so important.
You got to wake up every day and want to do good work. Yeah. Unfortunately, I didn't have that drive, and it just, over 2021, it just crystallized. I didn't want to do it. Yeah. And it was really difficult because, sure, I had in my heart had already made that decision that I didn't want to continue, but everything else was basically driving in that direction. Yeah. It's like a lorry, or like a really heavy vehicle which is just moving along with all that mass, and you can't really stop it. Yeah. So then I'm like, how am I going to get off this freight train? It's like a proper freight train. Yeah. Because everyone is expecting you to, continue with your training, to go back into it and, swim. Yeah. Well, I don't know what the expression is, but like a duck. Yeah. Unfortunately, I was not. I was actually sinking.
What was the tipping point?
Yeah, the tipping point, as I mentioned, it was COVID. So I felt completely out of my depth. Yeah. I know that it was an insane time for everyone. Like, as soon as that news conference came on and everyone had to stay home, we were called out.
From this evening, I must give the British people a very simple instruction. You must stay at home.
So I was, at the time, I just started my training as a radiology reg. Yeah. So that's specialty training in the first year. And I had just done a lot of book work, and I had my little group, and we thought everything was going to be plain sailing. And then that conference happened with Boris. We all remember that. Yeah. And then I remember the capping as well, which, it did help. It did help mentally, but like we got called out the first day, and we had to go straight to our respective hospitals. Yeah. And just start a job which we had no idea about, because a lot of us had come from different parts in our training. And the old days, which was when you get on the ward and you do all the bloods and stuff, that stuff had already sort of become like, it was quite a while ago. So I was sort of struggling a lot with that, and I felt like I was dropped in the deep end. Yeah. Very unsupported.
I can just about imagine that sort of pressure. Yeah.
Yeah. Can you imagine if you've just been like reading all year and doing lots of exams, and then suddenly you get dropped in the deep end?
Yeah. Here's a pandemic.
Case of pandemic.
What do you do?
Now you got to go on your own. You got to do all this stuff, and you got to look after really sick patients, and not knowing whether or not you're going to end up one of them.
Yeah, that's crazy.
That was absolutely terrifying.
Yeah.
And it made me feel, I don't know what it. I think it just triggered some anxieties, deep-seated anxieties, to start bubbling up.
Yeah.
So 2020 was very traumatic, and in 21, I had to take a little bit of time off, which actually turned into a long time off.
Yeah.
Because I couldn't get on top of the mental health strain that occurred, that manifested because of COVID.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
And it was a really tricky time.
Yeah.
Really tricky time. So that was the point on which I thought, I think I actually want to pursue what I really love.
Yeah.
And I'll actually, if you don't mind, I'll talk a little bit about that as well.
Do it, yeah.
So the reason I decided to go into food is actually because it's sort of like part of the fabric of my being.
Yeah.
So when I was young, as a kid, what I'd be thinking about is food. As my parents from Hong Kong, and I was brought up in the UK. I was always lucky to go back to Hong Kong and sample lots of different cuisines, and they'd do it at a very high level. And so I had a lot of variety I was exposed to a lot of variety. And one of the things that really stuck was Japanese food. So we're always thinking about it. And sort of the gateway into food, into Japanese food in particular, was in fact Sushi Conveyor Belt restaurant. I was just so enamored with the whole system and all the little mini plates and things. It's really stuck with me, and I've never forgotten it.
Yeah.
And
those little quirky things that now you look back and you're like, oh, not quite the quality I'm doing, but
well, you got to start somewhere.
Yeah, exactly.
You got to start somewhere. It's like, burgers. People like McDonald's, and then actually, they start to evolve from McDonald's to maybe.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, yeah.
But yes, food's been an inseparable part of my life since young age. My dad used to own a takeaway, so I was actually exposed to the whole craziness of the kitchen life quite young. Maybe it was in there a little bit too young, but I don't really talk about that. There were no ages or numbers involved.
Yeah.
That was a long time ago.
Yeah, everything's different now.
But I did see, the whole system, from the start to finish, from serving the customers to working hard in the kitchen. Sure, it was a little bit traumatizing, it was a little bit terrifying, but also I could see there was fire there, there was passion there, and I did learn in that environment.
Yeah.
Although it did take quite a long time to sort of manifest. Though even now, I can still remember those moments very vividly, and they do give me some strength. When I'm feeling a little bit out of depth, I remember where I came from, which was madness in the kitchen.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Yeah.
So
it's what fuels every natural chef, is running to the chaos and.
There's the swings and roundabouts. There's a sort of balancing act which I've found. You absolutely have to embrace the chaos, but you have to know also where the sort of limit is, where the line is. We're always walking that fine line between, doing our best and having high standards. And also, the other side of it is pushing too far and putting too much weight of responsibility and perfectionism.
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it's, like you said, it's knowing that balance of when have I done too much, or when's my body going to break and when's my mind going to break. Ultimately, when you lose those things, it's a no-go zone, and then it's all downhill from there. Which is, I think any chef that's been doing, 10, 15 years plus, you've seen chefs break, and you've seen yourself either nearly break or get to that point of, whoa, I've got to slow down a second. Yeah.
In fact, so I can absolutely appreciate that, because just recently, a couple of weeks ago, I had a couple of jobs that were really hard back to back, and oh my gosh, it feels completely overwhelming.
Absolutely, yeah.
Now I'm in a bit of a funny situation where I'm basically operating as a private chef and also doing pop-ups, so a lot of the onus is on myself to run the service. I'm not in a traditional team. So that means, when it comes to drink service, when it comes to, doing payments, doing, all the other things which we take for granted, I have to do it. Yeah. So then there was a lot of pressure which I was piling on myself. And because sushi requires a lot of precision, and also, being a bit of a perfectionist, I was putting a huge amount of pressure on myself, and I could feel definitely the cracks were starting to appear. I was actually shaking at, when I came home at probably silly o'clock, my partner could see that I was in a real state. I was like sort of shaking because I just hadn't eaten for 8 hours, looked after myself. I was operating on fumes. And that's the point at which, you just have to stop. You have to take a break and
Yeah.
really reflect on
Maybe
why.
4 hours before that, but
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I should have, but in the moment.
yeah, exactly.
It just keeps you going. There's diners. Obviously, they don't see it. You feel you've got the apron on, and you're doing the work. You really feel like you're invincible. You can take it. But in reality, when you take that apron off, then everything sort of falls.
You're back to being human, and then
I know that's actually very real. It's something which I recognise that I need to actively address.
Yeah. Nip that in the bud before it, like we just said, before it takes you that nasty road of getting used to it, and that's your then normal, which is it's not a fun.
Well, I certainly don't want that for my.
Probably not.
So going from one extreme to the other, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's craziness. But yeah, what was the earliest memory you have of being in the family takeaway? Your first part of cooking that you experienced firsthand, and
oh yes, that's a fond memory. It's a fond memory, partially fond memory. So obviously in the Chinese takeaway, it's pretty full on. It's pretty full on.
Absolutely, yeah.
Typical dad, who owns a Chinese takeaway, who is also from the old school. They're very stoic. So actually, this is a great talking point of mental health. So they're very stoic. So he was very stoic. He was very like a macho-ish guy.
Yeah.
So he didn't want to ever show signs of weakness in front of his staff.
Yeah.
He'd always be, the guy in charge. Whenever there was any difficulty with customers, he'd come out, from the kitchen in a big huff and be like, "So what's the problem?" It'd be quite confrontational. And I feel that that's not a good thing. Maybe he was watching too much Gordon Ramsay. I don't know. But yeah, I did see a lot of that. There were some good memories though entwined in that, such as when I was given the responsibility to sit at the counter and take the orders. I learned the importance of establishing a rapport with your customers, with your diners. And I think that's something which I really enjoy now. Sushi Omakase, there isn't really a barrier between you and the diner.
No barrier. You're face to face.
You're face to face. They can see what you're doing. I think as a diner myself at an Omakase, I really enjoy it when the chef talks to me. I really enjoy it when they see that I take an interest and they actually entertain that. They talk about what I'm doing. Yeah. And that rapport, I learned that really early. Doing that front of house work. Yeah. 12 years old, maybe 14 years old. But I was able to establish that importance. And so that was definitely a fond memory for me, giving that responsibility as well, just to make sure all of that, all the finances were sorted, which is crazy, a 12-year-old doing that. Yeah. Another really fun thing was actually being taught how to do the wok toss, understanding the importance of, in Cantonese cuisine, they've got this concept of wok hei, which is the breath of the wok. So I learned that quite early. And it was really fun just playing with the turbo burner and just flipping frozen peas over and over again just to get the rolling motion. But yeah, it was from a very early age,
Amazing, 12 years old in front of the flames.
I know that my kid friends, they were like, "So when are we going to go play football?" And I was like, "Sorry, I've got to work. Got to go and earn some pocket money." And they were like, "How come you're always so loaded? You always got the latest Game Boy or something." It's because
you're working 7 hours a week.
Well, it probably was. Yeah, but don't tell. Well, yeah, it was good fun. It was good fun. Yeah, but you do have a lot of foundational I think it's quite formative.
Absolutely.
You have your core lessons or core things you can draw from in childhood. I'm lucky that I had those experiences. It was good fun.
Definitely, like you said, that initial reaction of being face to face with the customer and learning to get that rapport, that obviously stuck with you through until now, because obviously this is part of your career now going forward is to be face to face with the customer and have that rapport again, and that's your little thing that you look for, which is great.
One of the aspects which I really enjoy about what I'm doing now. Actually, on that topic, so I saw the flip side of that, because with the theme of mental health, with my dad being the way he was, I did see some pretty unsavory behavior in the kitchen. So because he was the way he was, he ruled the place with an iron fist. So everything had to happen the way he envisioned it. He saw it, and if people weren't doing things quite right, he'd have a go at them. He'd put them in their place, and everyone was sort of in the busiest times operating in a climate of fear.
Yeah.
I was sort of separated from that. I did see it, I saw it, I was terrified of it. I was at the front, so I was away from that. I was always able to, greet customers with a smile and get better service. But I gotta say, some of the staff at the back, they must have been really feeling it. And the dropout rate was really high.
I can
Have a
imagine.
high turnover. There's always a right-hand man, but like he's obviously going to be treated with respect because he can't leave him. He can't lose him.
No.
Everyone else was like the KPs and stuff. They were abused a little bit. And I do see that sometimes in the contemporary places and the modern places, which I've had a little bit of experience in, and also in other work environments. And it can be so demoralizing.
Absolutely.
When your team leader is abusive or is not looking out for you or doesn't acknowledge that you're human. They think you're
crazy.
just a machine, and you just have to do as they say without question. Yeah, it's a culture thing.
Yeah,
I think.
yeah, definitely kitchen culture. I mean, from maybe even early 70s to mid 2000s, I think, that sort of culture was just at its peak. Yeah, exactly.
White.
My Pierre White, yeah, and then obviously him training people like Gordon Ramsay, and and like I said,
I don't know how he justifies it. I didn't read up on him, but I don't know how he justifies his behaviour in the kitchen. I mean, the results are good, but my gosh, the cost, the human cost, is high. It's like his empire is built on a mound of skulls.
Yeah, like you said, it's that macho. It's that macho. I've got to be the dominant one, like control. That's where I am in the kitchen.
I see.
Yeah,
that's actually, if you don't mind me asking, how are you operating? What do you want for your team? Like,
I had this conversation with a guy that used to work with me at Lost. He's moved on now. He's doing amazing things. But yeah, I was speaking to him last night, and he said, "I've never seen you flip out. Like, why? Why aren't you one of those chefs, one of those head chefs?" Like maybe 8 years ago, I think I went a little bit overboard, and you have that switch in your mind where you're going, what am I doing? Like, I'm not getting the results from my team. I'm not providing any other sort of service, and they're not learning from me. They're learning what not to do. But yeah, you'll never get the results, and you just end up going backwards and then redoing it yourself. You're looking for that level of control that isn't achievable at any given point, because you're putting the people that you're working with down at all times. Like you said, with your dad, people working in fear. I don't want that. I want to walk into the kitchen and it's good morning, chef. It's goodbye, chef. It's all of those things. You're a team, because soon as you walk in, you're greeted with a smile, not, oh God. That's the worst thing. Like,
it is.
If you look at your rota the day before and you're then dreading it whilst you're on your day off, it's not worth it at that point.
That is partially the reason why I jumped ship. It's because I no longer felt happy going into work. There was a lack of drive and passion, but also I was completely out of step with my teams. I didn't know anyone, and the people that I knew, they'd moved on, and I just felt really unsupported and alone. Not because they did anything bad. It's just because it was myself, really. I felt like I was just isolated.
Yeah.
But I can imagine that, in the kitchen, it's the same thing. Like, if you see the team roster and you see, oh crap, I'm working with, this guy today and he's going to shout at me. I know he's going to have some problem with me. It's endemic in kitchens. I've spoken to colleagues who used to work as line chefs, and they say that, the person in charge of that sections would be such a, hard ass. It'd be really, really difficult to talk to, and it'd just have a really weird way of just showing respect. I don't know.
Yeah.
But yeah, 100% agree.
It just boils down to what at the end of the day, what's the point essentially? What are you achieving from being that hardcore person? Nothing. You're not getting better results. You're not, you can look back at Marco Pierre White and then realise, oh, so he did the entire menu that day himself because he's had to go and tell X, Y, and Z that they didn't do a very good job in his own special way. But yeah, I'm sure he looks back on everything he goes, we probably should have done things different. You'd hope anyway.
When I was doing no stock pot.
Yeah, exactly.
Keep the money rolling in.
God.
But
soul to soul.
It reminds me of that. Do you remember the was it the advert where he did the French scrambled eggs or something?
Yeah.
It's like an ASMR advert, but it was unintentional. It's the most hilarious thing ever.
Yeah. God, he's done some funny stuff.
It was unintentional.
Yeah.
But yeah, I can't remember what the question this is.
Yeah. What were we talking about? Oh yeah, I think your first memory of what dish you first cooked,
Oh, that
or were like fried rice.
so sort of rite of passage is always fried rice.
Absolutely, yeah.
And I made a mistake. The first day, like my dad was like, all right, then you've learned how to toss. So now you get to try making fried rice.
Yeah.
So go on then, just set me off on my own. I was like, crap. Yep, I was just remembering what he did. I put the oil in the pan, turned the burner on, and I sort of was like, okay, so now what do I do? Because obviously I didn't see the whole process, so I would only see the beginning of the process and then be pulled away to deal with customers. Or maybe another really popular job in that kitchen was to sort of like press the lids on the takeaway boxes and load everything into the bags. Very important job, because if you screw up and then the customers get the wrong order, they bring it back and then you get shouted at. But yeah, so fried rice was the first thing I learned, and I learned by making mistakes. Yeah. So what did I do? I put the toppings in first, and then I attempted to cook the rice with the toppings. But because I didn't turn the burner on high power enough, it didn't have enough, it was too much moisture. Yeah. So then it just turned into this sticky clump, and it was horrendous because I just was trying to save it, but it was obviously going terribly wrong. And my dad was just standing behind me, he was just watching me with this look on his face, and he was like, oh, what is this? It was like, you're my son. How can you do this? I was not looking forward to the ride home. Yeah. But it was with rose tinted glasses, it was actually quite funny now that I can look back on it. And I did learn the importance of if you have a turbo burner, you can get away with it, but you have to turn it up high. If you don't have a turbo burner, then you have to do things separately. So you got to cook toppings first, separate them out, scrub the pan down quickly. It's weird. They always have this little like wire wool scrubber on the side, and they quickly give it a scrub, rinse it with some tap water, which is constantly running. Yeah. And then you reset the pan so that it's got a nice it's been reheated, and you put some oil in, it's non-stick. You fry your rice and then add the toppings back in. That is how you do it when you don't have a turbo burner. But yeah. So that was one of the first dishes I learned. Yeah. So that one stuck with me. Still to this day.
Never forget how to make it.
So almost as if every time I make it, I remember this is what I did, and so I must not do that.
Yeah. It's like rite of passage, like he says.
Oh yeah, such a rite of passage. Yeah. Trial by fire. And what was yours? What was yours?
So I started off as a dessert chef, and it was a Victoria sponge.
Victoria sponge?
Yeah. Oh, so a three layer Victoria sponge. And I remember it sitting proudly in the cake cabinet and then falling over.
Oh no, what happened?
Because I didn't whip the cream enough. So it just turned into a slow puddle of...
so slowly just collapsed. That must have been so disheartening.
Absolutely.
It's great that, you can talk about it now. We can look back with fond memories.
Yeah, exactly.
So in terms of sense of purpose, I feel that it came quite naturally. After medicine, my sense of purpose was purely focused on food, because what I did was I slowly started to transition away from medicine. It actually first started as just doing, simple meals, but just doing the things which I really enjoyed. The dishes which I really enjoyed, and my other half was sort of encouraging me to sort of take some pictures and maybe try posting it on social media just for a bit of fun. And it sort of grew from there because people were starting to take notice. I was chatting to other chefs and other food enthusiasts and influencers, and I know social media gets a bad rap, but it does connect people.
Absolutely, yeah.
And especially when you're talking to like-minded people, like other chefs, and you're sharing information and sort of cheering each other on. It's actually really encouraging. Yeah. So that's actually how I first started, and then I started to explore. Maybe I can sort of bring it to my friends and family. Maybe and the results were good. Yeah. And then I did something I did a little mini do for a friend. Just with all their friends, and they were like, yeah, you could totally do this as a job, give it a go. So they sort of pushed me in that direction, and it sort of like snowballed. Yeah. Once the ball was rolling, it just started gaining momentum. In terms of purpose, my purpose is to spread joy through the things through this craft which I've chosen. I feel that I am somewhat accomplishing it. When I see people's faces when they're enjoying the food, I ask them afterwards, how did they find it? If they've enjoyed themselves, if they've enjoyed the food, if they've enjoyed the experience and being able to have fun with their company, you know, I think that's my job accomplished. I get a lot of joy from seeing that.
Absolutely, yeah. It's one of my favourite things about working with an open pass. Obviously, it's not like the Omakase style, but I still get that instant gratification, pat on the back because I see they're enjoying their food.
100%.
Or to flip that on its head, I know immediately if they don't like something, and then that's when I can,
Then we can go
for an adjust.
rectify it.
Exactly.
It's the same. It's the same with me. So if I notice that something's not quite right, if I've established that rapport with the customer, then I can try and rectify it, or I can try and tweak it, maybe get something else.
Yeah.
Because at the end of the day, I want them to have a good time. I want them to have a good time and also be able to focus on enjoying the company of their friends.
Yeah.
That's part of what I want to do. I want to ensure that people feel looked after. It's basically the holistic experience.
Yeah.
And I know that that's the whole role of hospitality. That's the whole purpose of it. But, being somebody who pretty much operates on their own, I've had to assume the role of multiple different aspects of that experience of hospitality.
Absolutely.
So I'd like to think that I've got some insight into it,
Yeah.
and I want to bring that feeling to more people in the future. So I do feel the purpose is quite well defined now as a sushi chef.
Yeah. Amazing. What do you have a vision of what your next 5 years looks like, or your next 10 years even?
Ooh, so right now I'm sort of doing it month by month.
Yeah.
I know I do have a vision, and that is to open my own place one day.
Yeah.
I think every chef would love to have their own place, and do and cook the things that they like to cook and like to eat, and also be able to have a platform to experiment, and also go out there into the world, come back with new ideas, and then present it, as their art to their diners. And so yeah, absolutely. Hopefully 5 years, I could see that. Though it's going to take a little bit of work.
Absolutely.
Nowadays, it's very expensive to open a restaurant. And I feel that I need to change my own sort of approach. It can't all be on me. I need to work with people who are like-minded.
Exactly. Yeah.
And that's the fun of it, working with people who also see things the same way.
Definitely. Yeah. Amazing.
So that's sort of the direction which I'm going.
Yeah.
But for now, definitely will enjoy working with lots of other people around Brighton, hopefully with yourself too. And just continuing to improve myself and my knowledge so that when the time comes, it will be a little bit easier to actually, execute that.
Yeah. Amazing. Put the puzzle together and then stand back and look.
100%. There's like little pieces of the puzzle
now,
which I'm eventually would hopefully slot together like a good IKEA pack.
Yes. So now going back to the social media side of things, I'm gonna go off piste.
And that's okay.
And then where did Desk Gourmet come into it?
Oh, Desk Gourmet. So what do you mean, the name or
the name? Obviously the content you were showing. I know you touched on it. That obviously your partner said put it out there, like let the world see what you're creating. So that's how I found you. I think it must have been a hashtag somewhere along the line, and then
amazing.
Yeah, just popped up, and I was like, wow, Desk Gourmet. Wow, what a cool, interesting name. Like,
there's a weird
because it's literally what you're doing. Like, you're at a desk making the gourmet.
Yeah, so I actually give 100% credit to Key, my girlfriend, because she actually suggested the name, like word for word. That is her name.
Yeah.
She gave it to me. It is because I was making food, and we had this little office desk which was just sitting in front of the window in an old apartment, and I'd just make all of my food, and we'd sit there and enjoy it, watching Netflix or something.
Yeah.
And I was doing the pictures before, and it would always be the same office desk. And she was like, oh, Desk Gourmet. And I was like, no, it can't be Desk Gourmet. It has to be something more sophisticated. And she was like, well, just keep it simple. You might just like change it later. So it ended up becoming that as a working title. It was meant to be a working title.
Yeah.
And now it's basically become its own thing. So I'm just going to leave it as Desk Gourmet because everyone sort of recognizes it. People have made the comment about the icon. They're like, why is there a cat on there?
Yeah.
I thought it was a pet food channel. And I was like, well, it was a placeholder originally.
Yeah.
It was a random cat who just started licking its face or something. So I just stuck it on there, and it just sort of left it. Now it's become a thing. It's its own thing.
Yeah. No.
There's no like deep there's no deep meaning behind it. It's just a thing that happened. And now it's I originally thought it was supposed to be Desk Gourmand, because like gourmand is a person who is like a sort of appreciates food and comments on it.
Yeah.
So originally I wanted to call it that, but I think Desk Gourmet just rolls off the tongue a little bit better.
Yeah.
So I just leave it.
Yeah. Don't admit your partner's right.
I'm not gonna I'm not going to leave that.
Yeah.
She was right, 100%.
And then obviously flowing into now, which is Masu.
Nhs To Omakase.
Yes.
So I had a little bit of help with coming up with that one. Originally, I wanted to call it like Mr. Nigiri or something.
Hey, yeah.
Nigiri-kun was this funny play on you know, like a young person or a young man, and then the sort of the last name. But I don't think it would have worked very well in hindsight. I think Masu is actually much more simple, much more memorable. It's easier for people to remember and also say.
Yeah.
So maybe that one's another project. This one I feel sums up what I want to do, which is omakase. And also Masu is Japanese for trout, you know, and people are like, oh, is it box? Is it the beginning? Because they usually look up Google and they're like, Masu, so it's got to be these two things, right? Because why would you call your restaurant a specific type of fish? And it's actually because that is my signature. I've chosen to use English trout because I feel that versus salmon, it's just a little bit more interesting. You know, texture's really tight. Yeah. The fat's incredibly refined and rich, but not too much. Also, it's pretty sustainable. You know, it's grown in small quantities on these farms with really clear water. So like chalk stream, or you get like Houghton Spring farms. They specialize in these special trout, and I think the quality is just up there.
Absolutely. So it's on every menu that I write. I start. Yeah, trout or sea bass for UK waters.
Yeah, because I mean, the UK is an island and it has access to such wonderful seafood, and that's why I want to feature more of these seasonal and regional ingredients. Yeah, because you can easily just go down that classical route of getting all the frozen products, all the frozen tuna, all the frozen or farmed fresh salmon from Norway, and sure, you could run a service and you'll have all the things, but like, why would you do that when you can get amazing mackerel, you can get red mullet, you can get wild bass, you can get lots of flatfish, lots of brill, lots of turbot, and these are wonderful as sushi. Yeah. You know, you just have to have a little bit of know-how on how to process them, how to age them, because, you know, with aging, the flavor actually comes out after a few days. But it's about controlling that process. Yeah. So another reason why I like sushi is because it's application of scientific method, but also with an artistic flair. Yeah. You know, which is actually quite similar to medicine.
Amazing little, like an intersection of
it's weird,
mental.
It's because I really do enjoy the technical process of cooking.
Yeah.
I guess I just think like that. Yeah. That's why it's a natural fit.
Yeah. Definitely. Will Masu be following you into the set's new ideology?
I'm allowed to talk about it now, and I think so.
Okay, perfect.
Yeah, I'm allowed to talk about it now. So yes, around about March time, that's when the new site from the set will be ready, and there's some really exciting things going. They've got crowdfunder going to try and help with the renovation, but obviously there's a plan to create a sort of modern open plan Japanese aesthetic, open plan kitchen. Excuse me. So yes, hopefully we'll be taking 2 days. So that's the Monday and so Sunday and the Monday there'll be sushi a la carte or as small set menus, and also there will be J barbecue as well on the Monday, utilizing some of the leftovers from the Sundays. So we actually will have like seafood items. We're going to have some classics as well, things like tebasaki, which is the chicken wings, or like little thigh skewers, etc. But I'll have a nice range of things, you know, on the Monday to you.
Amazing, I'm looking forward to it.
And and luckily, you know, there'll be a conro. There'll be lovely barbecue, Japanese barbecue we use. So with a great big extractor fan. I always look to that. If they don't have a big extractor fan, it just smokes the entire place out.
Yeah, exactly.
Your diners will hate it. Although when you go to Japan, so I know you're going in January, I'm still writing your little PDF. So you will absolutely see it. You'll be sitting in a little izakaya or a little yatai, and then they'll be cooking the thing in front of you, and it is just the most terrible health and safety. There's no health and safety whatsoever. There's no like a red tape. It is literally in front of you, like in front of you, with a little perspex screen, and it's just black, you know, and there's smoke everywhere. But you can tell it's going to taste good because you can see it cooking. There's a little old man just sitting there doing the skewer.
Yeah, literally,
And it's just, and it's so cheap as well because the exchange rate is really good. So you are going to be so happy. You might gain a few pounds, but I mean, just walk around.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
And it'll be cold as well, so you burn more calories.
Yeah.
You know? If you're going to be in the north, it's going to be pretty icy. So just make sure that you get a decent car.
Yeah, no.
Make sure it's got water.
God, lots to plan for that trip. God. Yeah.
We're probably going to have loads of requests to get equipment.
Oh yeah, yeah.
So
I've put feelers out to see like close friends at the moment. So
the limits.
if I'm gonna,
Make sure and make sure that you have enough space in your suitcase, because I had like 25 kilograms on my suitcase like limit, and I still had to take stuff out of the suitcase and stick it in my bag.
Yeah.
And I was so stupid. I went and put a sharpening stone inside my bag, like a flattener.
Yeah.
That's on a diamond plate, and they got flagged at the security checkpoint. So I had to run back to the drop off and take my entire rucksack and like check in the rucks. It was really stressful. Don't do that.
Yeah. No. Got everything in the suitcase. How food like kept you busy during COVID, got your mind working. Do you see it as a form of therapy? So I've always said, as soon as I'm in the kitchen, I'm a different person, because I'm in my happy place. I'm safe in here because I know exactly what I'm doing, when I'm doing it, how I'm doing it.
Oh, that's fantastic. Yeah. You see, and I 100% agree with that. I think it can be a form of therapy. And I think for me, during COVID times, during stressful periods of my life, food was always sort of that rock which I could always like hold on to, and it would always be predictable.
Yeah.
Like I'd know what I was going to get at the end of a certain process, and it would always bring me joy. So things like, let's see. So when it was really stressful in COVID times, I always used to come home, and always used to have this ritual of taking an hour and just cooking.
Yeah.
Taking my hour, I'd go back to the shared accommodation or whatever, and I'd just get all my stuff and I'd cook, and nothing would interrupt me.
Yeah.
I wouldn't put Netflix or podcasts on, or music. I'd literally just be in the process cooking, and it's because you are 100% focused in that moment. And that actually does come into sushi as well. I really like that focus. You don't think about anything else. You just think about the process of whatever you're doing, whether it's dicing vegetables or just mixing the rice, or just forming the individual pieces of sushi, or even just frying things. You just focused on that one moment, and it can be a good way of maintaining or achieving sort of a Zen state.
Yeah.
Which sounds a bit weird, but that way you can sort of still your mind and not be affected by the anxieties accumulated throughout the day, or at least the ones which I was finding.
Yeah.
And so it was like an escape for me.
Yeah.
Obviously now in the professional environment, the lines are starting to blur a little bit. So I've got to walk that line,
Absolutely. Yeah.
When I'm cooking for myself, I'm absolutely 100% happy. I've got no pressures. I can cook the thing that I want to do, and it's going to happen my way because I know where everything is in the kitchen. But, doing pop-ups sometimes, doing it at different venues, you get different setups. So when things are in different places, or people have like moved things and then you don't know where things are, it can be quite stressful, and there's an expectation. Your diners have to have a certain standard, which I have already set out for them.
Yeah.
So therefore I need to make things work. So it is sort of like, there's a little bit of a difference when it's professional versus personal cooking. So it can be therapeutic, but in the right context, it can be therapeutic.
Yeah.
But at home it is.
Absolutely. Yeah.
But in professional settings, it can be pressurized, and sort of depends on the setup. If it's predictable, like a set menu which you're doing several times in a go, and there's not too much variation, then it's okay. But if there's unknown variables, then it starts to get a little bit more stressful.
No, absolutely. What made you choose to do the classes?
Oh, classes?
Yeah.
So the sushi classes?
Yeah.
Oh, yes, because... Yeah.
So again, that's a whole different ball game of people looking at you for, how do I do this? It's like you and your dad with the fried rice all over again. It's like, am I doing this right? Am I gonna unroll this?
I quite enjoyed it. I quite enjoyed teaching people.
Yeah.
It's actually a really great way of reinforcing the knowledge which you've already learned. And it's one of the 101 things for teaching, and that they teach you in medical school or in any context where you have to teach a bunch of students something.
Yeah.
You go away and you learn it, and then you go and teach it, and it reinforces it for yourself. So teaching for me, especially something which I'm competent at, is actually quite nice, because then I can introduce something which I find a passion for to other people and see how they react to it. If they also find it enjoyable, then I've done my job. Then they've learned something, and that's something they can take with them for life. And it really does, spark joy in my heart. I feel that teaching it was a way into food actually.
Yeah.
So I'd already started teaching in 24. I think it was in sort of summer of 24. I did my first class It was at Time for Kimchi.
Yeah.
It was this lovely little Korean.
It's amazing. Yeah,
And they're the most amazing set lunches. So Time for Kimchi, I did my first class there, the class of 8. I felt out of my depth. My car broke down in front of the shop.
No way.
My car, my car broke down in front of the shop, but literally the battery just died and it just rolled to a stop in front of the shop.
No.
I turned the hazards on, I called the RAC, and then I went and did the class.
Yeah.
And the RAC turned up as I was finishing, thank God. Oh my God. It was so terrible. So there was lots of stress. There was so much stress. And the colander was too big. So I lost about a quarter of my rice into the sink because the holes were too big. So there were so many things which I learned in that one class. But at the end of the day, everyone enjoyed it. Everyone was able to go and make sushi. And it was all because, I was able to take my time and just go through it methodically with them, help people if they get stuck. And I think overall they all really enjoyed it. And that was what made it worth it for me. And I feel that teaching will always be one of the things I'd like to do. Even alongside professional chefing, I'd like to also teach, because I think teaching is great for propagating this, the same joy which I get from making things, cooking.
And fuels that fire of what you can then teach. Because you're broadening your own horizon essentially to then give that knowledge, which is again, it's like a massive trait of being a chef.
Absolutely.
You bring everything in just to give it away.
Well, absolutely. And also I think it's a great skill, being able to teach is a great skill because, being in teams, especially if you find yourself in the lead role or a senior role and they're newbies that come in, being able to teach them effectively and also in a non-authoritarian way, being able to play to their strengths, to be able to read how they are as a person so you can adapt the teaching so that they can learn effectively. That's a great skill to have in a team, like in a professional environment. So 100% is something which I would recommend to people just to go out there and teach, especially cooking.
Amazing. On the day you decided, right, I'm not gonna go the medical route.
Oh yes.
I'm gonna switch up. I'm gonna be a chef. What was that thought process? In so many words, what was it? Fully, my mental health is going down the toilet. I need to change, or
it was. I can tell you that it was a gradual change. I didn't just completely jump off the cliff and go straight into the mood. There was a slow sort of transition, and it was sort of a gradual realization that this is actually the thing I want to do. I've tested it a few times, and I know that this is really the thing that is in my heart, such as my real passion I want to follow. And I would definitely encourage people to take a moment, a period of reflection to think what really makes them happy in life. Ultimately, what do you really want to do? I know that people have mortgages to pay, they might have like expenses, they might have like kids to ensure that they have the best education, but you have to do something to make you happy at the end of the day. You can't just be slogging away at a job and not have a fire, driving you forward, because I don't think that's the best way to live. You won't do your best work that way. You won't feel fulfilled. And I know that one of the questions here was like, what fear did I have? Absolutely, I had a lot of fears with job security. I was walking away from a salaried job which is very consistent and it paid well, but what did I gain? I gained this freedom. I gained sort of like my independence and autonomy back. I was no longer institutionalized. So I'm a bit funny in the way that I rigidly follow.
Very methodical.
I don't really look outside the box, but this forced me to absolutely look outside. And it has helped me develop as a person as well. I feel like I've definitely grown.
Like you said, you're forcing yourself to be that personable person where, like you said, you're in front of somebody, you're having to display everything, your entire knowledge, like all at once, and then make them learn, essentially, especially with like how you said you started with that first class and knowing that you've passed on the knowledge. So my second question was, in so many words, when you were going back to the IC and getting in your car that had broken down, that feeling of joy that obviously came into you, but even though your car's broken down, leaving that class and going, I've accomplished something today. What was that feeling?
That was elation. That was just so, I felt like I'd actually accomplished something off my own back. It wasn't a predetermined thing. It was very organic. It was something which I could not have predicted. And my other half kept saying to me, you know, well done. I was sort of in disbelief. I was like, this has really happened.
Yeah.
But just knowing that they'd gone away, you know, happy with the class and they'd learned something, that was worth it. That made it 100% worth it, and it made me want to do it again. And you know, it's just one of my core services now. I offer classes for sushi and also other Japanese cuisine. Not for the money, actually, but just because I really enjoy teaching.
Absolutely.
You know?
Yeah. Amazing. If you had one final thought on like your thought process moving further into your career of how you're going to lay the road essentially for what you're doing next, like with the set stuff and with potentially working with Lost in the Lanes and bits like that. What's your thought process of like continuing the teaching and doing this on the side and like trying not to spread yourself too thin, to work away from working yourself into the ground essentially?
Oh yeah, because it's these multiple.
Like you said, it's so easy to do. Yeah.
They're multiple different disciplines, but you know, chefing is full on.
Yeah.
It's full on, and especially when you're in the full flow of things, it can, you know, 5 days a week. It's really, really busy. I would ideally like to have time to do things like teaching, because teaching is it's like a completely different discipline, and it's a different skill set as well. And then I would also like to have some time doing, you know, professional chefing. You know, in working in teams and collaborating with people. I really do enjoy that. Doing my own thing is also very enjoyable, but I'd like to somehow make it work with other people and work in different teams as well. You know, and also having some time of making sure I've carved out some time for myself and being able to sort of de-stress. It's very important. It's that sort of like balancing act, which you have to over time figure out. And yeah, so it's definitely going in that direction where I want to have like almost like a portfolio job. You do one thing on one day, another thing on another few days, and then have maybe a third thing which is completely unrelated or maybe more to do with self-care.
Yeah, self-care is a massive thing. Like I'm doing on all my other videos for this month is like looking after yourself. You're number one in any situation.
Yeah, because if you don't look after yourself, you can't look after others. You can't perform to your best, and you know, sort of it starts to erode your happiness. Yeah. And if it continues like that, it could sort of end up like how I was feeling with medicine. You know.
Yeah, it's not what anyone wants.
Yeah. So
amazing. I think that's a good time to end the video.
Oh, that's wonderful. Great. Well, thank you for having me on the podcast.